Dude, this Daily Bugle is amazing.
Right? The number of Easter eggs in this is wild.
You've got that right, Ryan. Let's check them out. Hey, Chris Baker here with the most unique video related to Marvel's Spider-Man for PS4 at E3 2018 that you're probably going to see on YouTube. We all know there's now a ton of new info revealed through a trailer, a demo, and many videos of that demo. But me? I think the most interesting information comes from one of the single greatest pieces of video game marketing material ever released. If you followed Spider-Man on PS4 at E3, you likely saw pictures of these Daily Bugle kiosks that were apparently all over the vicinity of the convention center. In them was a special edition of the Daily Bugle absolutely packed with an in-universe presentation of all kinds of story-based material for what may turn out to be the biggest superhero game of all time. I wasn't there myself, but special thanks to my friend Chris Johnston of the Player One podcast, which you should all listen to, for taking some high-res photos of each page for me. Now, I'm not going to go read every single article for you word for word. You can pause it or something if you want to do that, but I am going to call out the interesting stuff and maybe even throw in some educated analysis and speculation. You may know there's a web version of this too. I'm not covering that right now, might come back to it later. Interestingly, none of the articles are the same between the web and this print version. It even seems that the web version occurs shortly before the game happens, whereas this print version occurs the day after the events of the literal breakout E3 trailer. Now get psyched, everyone. Let's read some marketing materials.
This is too good to be true.
First up, the headline is a pretty decent pun, I guess. Of course, it's referring to the trailer we saw on Monday night where Spider-Man tried, and failed, to stop a massive breakout, most notably involving Scorpion, Rhino, Vulture, and Electro. The accompanying article by presumed editor-in-chief Robbie Robertson, J. Jonah Jameson no longer works there, as you'll read on the web. It attributes the breakout to a catastrophic power outage that no one can account for. It also points out the crime wave across the city and that Mayor Norman Osborn is urging everyone to stay safe. He's hired a private security force to make sure that happens. I'm sure that'll go well for the city and for Spider-Man. The next page offers some bios for the 4 villains revealed. I compared their vital stats to those of their Marvel Comics universe counterparts. Electro and Vulture line up exactly, but Rhino's only 6'5" in the comics, and they've added an inch to Scorpion as well. Here we have a report of the fight between Spider-Man and Mr. Negative that we've seen in the past, which apparently killed no one, but has damaged the subway system so badly it's affecting the entire New York subway system. I don't really see a stalled subway system playing into the game's plot, but maybe it will. Spider-Man actually takes the subway in this game. Incidentally, this was written by Kat Farrell, a creation of Marvel Games' own Bill Roseman. Lots to say about this one. It seems New Yorkers haven't seen Spidey since the subway incident. I don't get how that can be since, hey, he's on the cover of this issue in what appears to be the most recent scenario. But this is just Daily Bugle ace reporter Ben Urich. What does he know? He even references the cover story Jailbreak, which feels a little weird. Continuity errors aside, this does present some of the more interesting information in this entire issue. There will be a period where Spidey is perceived to be out of the picture, it seems. So apparently that sting from Scorpion, followed by his encounter with, well, whoever it is in the trailer, leads to this disappearance. I can't help but think of last year's trailer, when Mr. Negative touches Spidey and a lot of us were wondering if you play as an evil Spidey for a while. It'd be really interesting if there's a second part of the game where something really abnormal happens to Spidey as well. The article also mentions the Mayor's threats, which definitely leads me to believe Norman Osborn already has it out for the Wallcrawler, even if he isn't the Green Goblin yet in this universe. Or maybe he is? I'm still rooting for an origin story of the Green Goblin in this game, and I do think he's the odds-on favorite to be the sinister 6th baddie in the trailer. Finally, Urich mentions the Foreign Military Force. Based on Brian Intahar's shirt at E3, my bet is that foreign means Symkarian, as in Symkaria, as in the home of the internationally known assassin Silver Sable. who herself is the leader of Silver Sable International, an internationally known mercenary force. In my Paris Games Week trailer, I brought her up because there was another Symkaria reference. I said this, but will Silver Sable actually make it to the streets of New York in this game? I'm gonna guess no. I think it's probably just a cool Easter egg to have the word Symkaria there, but I'd certainly love to see her. Guess what? I'm changing my stance. I do think she'll appear now. Next up, a couple of ads. This may first appear to be an innocent Oscorp ad. Most people are going to smile and move on. Well, I'm smiling, but I'm not moving on. What's something mysterious we've known about Peter Parker for a year now? Hey, it looks like a certain megacorp has some openings for assistant lab technicians. The perfect job for a 23-year-old scientist. I'll admit I was rooting for Peter to be working at Horizon Labs, but I definitely think it's Oscorp now. And next, another fairly easy but welcome Easter egg to include. Nelson and Murdoch is of course Daredevil's day job. Matt sure is getting awfully punny though. Blindsided? Dare to be represented? I think it's interesting they've included an address. Apparently their little law firm is located in the heart of Times Square. Must be doing well there, Matt and Foggy. Congrats. Oh, and I would not expect Daredevil to be in this game, in the same way I would not expect Doctor Strange, who has his Sanctum Sanctorum in the game, in the same way that I don't expect the Avengers to show up, because there's Avengers Tower too. These are just cool Easter eggs to suggest a bigger Marvel universe. Cat Farrell returns with a report on Wilson Fisk. Seems it's been 1 month since what's reportedly the first boss fight in the game, where Spidey helps to incarcerate the Kingpin. This article is basically all about what the Kingpin says right here.
I'm the one who kept order in this city!
The article mentions several wannabe Kingpins rising in the time since. Obviously one is Mr. Negative. Will there be more, I wonder? Hey, it's Mary Jane Watson writing for the Bugle. Very cool. MJ mentions the Bugle being first to profile Martin Lee, before we knew about the whole Mr. Negative thing, which we do now, and I'm pretty sure we saw that very story back in October. This is basically a who is this guy kind of introduction for anyone not in the know. It is interesting to know that Aunt May is continuing to run the Feast Homeless Shelter even without Martin Lee though. Here, Robbie offers an editorial about the ill-advised nature of the Raft prison for supervillains. It's a common sense rant with some lore for the Raft more than anything else. In this article, Ben Urich doesn't so much criticize Norman Osborn as mayor, but rather the people around him in executing his initiatives. It describes Osborn in wanting to have more law enforcement active to wean us off of Spider-Man. So maybe he doesn't hate Spidey, he just doesn't think he should be necessary. I'm guessing Grant H is a developer I'm not aware of, and he writes a classic Jameson-style anti-Spidey pro-mayor rant, especially praising the new private security agents now patrolling the streets. Justin W. offers an opposite take. No further evidence of these guys being Symkarian here, but I'm still guessing that they are. Apparently citizens are facing beatings, being rounded up, and even disappearing for so much as glancing at these soldiers the wrong way. Yikes. Robbie's back again with a look at Mr. Negative's thugs, the Inner Demons. Actually, they just call them demons, which is different than the comics, but whatever. It basically tells us what we know. They serve Martin Lee, and they've been doing lots of bad stuff lately. Hey, this is neat. We know that Jameson has his own call-in show outside the Bugle. Seems MJ is the master of webcast for the paper, though. I imagine we'll get a firmer idea of what that means in the game. If for some reason you needed any further confirmation that the suit we've been seeing is new to this universe as well, Betty Brant has the story for you. Comic fans of course know Betty as Peter's first girlfriend, and she was played by Elizabeth Banks in the Sam Raimi movies. She suggests that the new suit might boast some upgrades, which we of course know that it does. So what's this ad all about? Any ideas? Maybe it's where Black Cat lives because it's a super steel? I think we can assume that it'll end up as a set piece for a mission in the game though. As the ad suggests, the address maps out to right across the street from Central Park at 5th and 70th. This is cool universe building here. I was hoping some of these scenarios described would be something I recognized from comics, but no dice there. Doesn't mean that's not the case. Let me know if anything described here does sound familiar to you. I think the most interesting tidbit out of all of this is that apparently the new trailer isn't the first time that Scorpion has managed to sting Spidey. Here we learn that Miles Morales was part of a science fair winning team at Midtown High, which Peter himself won when he was a student. With MJ reporting, is it possible that she's the link to them knowing each other in the game? The article also seems to go out of its way to name drop Miles' parents. Could there be something there? How can you not love this on the last page? I mean, the captions could be way better, but I love the ideas here. According to this ad, apparently the Auerbach Theater has been restored. This means nothing to me. But a Polygon article did point it out and said it's located in Midtown and possibly is named after the producer of Turn Off the Dark, which is the failed Spider-Man Broadway musical. Right now it appears to be showing The Man with a Dark Past, which we saw in the Times Square video. This location is obviously important. Any particularly theatrical characters out there you can think of? Maybe? I don't know. I guess there's no coffee bean in the Spider-Man universe, but we have Friar's Coffee, whatever that means. I wonder if 1979 means anything special. As for Millennial Visions here, its author again is apparently Bill Roseman of Marvel Games. Marvel Comics did actually release a series of special edition one-shots in the early 2000s called Millennial Visions that was more or less an art book of concepts for alternate realities that don't exist anywhere else. Apparently you can get your copy of this book at White's Bookstore Cafe. I don't know what that means, if anything. Finally, these horoscopes are pretty funny, but this whole thing seems like it's just a parody of how most horoscopes can apply to anyone. I don't really see a direct connection, but in recent years, Spidey has been up against a group of wannabe world dominators known as the Zodiac. Could this be hinting at that? It's the best I've got for you here. Personally, I would have used this space for some really meta funnies. Specifically, Stan Lee's Spider-Man newspaper comics. Well, I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into this awesome piece of E3 memorabilia. What are your thoughts? Did I open your eyes to anything? Do you disagree? Did you see something that I did not see? Let me know. And as always, follow Spider-Ham's advice. See you next time.